In today's lesson, we are going to learn some background information that we need in order to talk about similar figures. So similar figures has some connections with what we've been learning about angles and shapes. So today is going to be a background lesson for that, and that is going to be talking about corresponding parts of similar figures. So what you're going to do today is an important background skill that is going to help you with the next part of this lesson that we're going to work on next week. So we're going to talk about corresponding parts of similar figures. We need to take a minute and talk about what similar figures are. So two figures or two shapes are similar if they're the same shape but different sizes. So you could never have a triangle similar to a square because they're not the same shape. But you could have a square and then a bigger square, so it's the same shape but a different size. Those would be similar figures. So that's how similar figures work. So if two things are the same shape, then that means we can match up the different sides and the angles of those two shapes. So the matching sides and angles of two similar figures are called corresponding, which is another word for matching. Corresponding parts. So being able to correctly match up corresponding parts is going to be really important to the next part of the lesson that we're going to do, which is why we're taking today to practice correctly getting things matched up. We're also going to talk a little bit about correct notation when you're naming parts of an angle or parts of a shape. So here we have two trapezoids. We can assume they're trapezoids because we've got a couple pairs of sides there that look like they are parallel. So all shapes, the corresponding parts, you can match up all the sides and you can match up all the angles. So we're going to go through and we're going to do the sides first. And I'm actually going to go through and just quickly color code the different pairs of matching sides. So color coding is really helpful when you're trying to match up things that are corresponding. And then we'll go through and we'll list them out. So we have short side matches with short side. So we'll list those out right there in just a moment. And then we have this longer side that's parallel to that is going to match with the longer parallel side in the other shape. So we'll list those out there in just a moment. So now we have kind of a shorter side that goes from the red side to the yellow side, and then kind of a more stretched out longer side. So this side is the shorter side. So if we were to take this trapezoid on the right and kind of rotate it around so that it's resting on its yellow base, then that would be the left side of it. So those two sides match. So we're going to scoot this up. We will list those out right there in just a minute. And then we have one last pair of sides, and it's the only two pairs of sides we haven't matched up yet. So that is right here and right here. So you notice that the shapes are spun around, which makes it on some shapes a little bit trickier to match up the sides. Which is why this is a good thing to practice. It's just thinking about what things match up if these shapes were both facing the same direction. So the way we list out sides, so we've got red side matching with red side, and we're going to put some reminders about this. So we can use the vertices or the corners of the shape to list out the sides. So the red side on the left shape, we could call side JK. But the way that we're going to say that that's a side length is by basically putting a little bar over it. So it looks kind of like a little mini side length. So use we're going to call it a bar. It's actually a segment symbol. Use a bar over the letter name. So that is correct notation when you're working with segments or side of a shape. And then the other thing is we want to list the letters in matching order. So I'll talk about show you what I mean by that in just a minute. Matching order. So list letters in matching order. So here's what I mean by that. So JK, we went from where the red side met the green side And then the second thing we listed was where the red side met the blue side. So if we're going green to blue, then on the other shape, we also want to go green to blue. So if we're going green to blue, then that other red side would be QN, not NQ. NQ is backwards. It's not in the same order. So we list things in the same order. So those are corresponding sides. And the way we could say they're corresponding is with a symbol, and this is called a congruent symbol or a similar symbol. Well, actually, we wouldn't want to use that, so never mind. We'll just list them out. So otherwise, we're going to get into some complicated things that we don't need to get into right now. So we'll just list them out. So that's one pair of sides. So now let's do the yellow side. So the yellow side, we've got one yellow side that's ML, and don't forget our segment mark to show that that's a segment. So the order I listed that out, listed the green and yellow first and the blue and yellow second. So the other one I want to list in the same order. So green and yellow first would be P, blue and yellow second would be O. So those are corresponding sides. And then I'm going to keep going. So the green side, so JM. So I listed red and green first and yellow and green second. So red and green first on the other shape would be Q. Yellow and green on the other shape would be P. So you can see that we're trying to kind of go in the same order, matching orders when we're listing things out. And the last side is KL. And going in matching order from red to yellow. If I go from red to yellow on the other one, it'd be NO for the blue side. So those are our corresponding sides written out using correct notation and in correct order because order matters. Now, got a little bit of space off to the side here. So these are the corresponding sides. You can also list corresponding angles. So each shape also has matching angles. So we can go through, and sometimes it helps to go through and do the sides first, because when your shape is, or your angles first, you could do it either way, but do one or the other, and then you can use what you already did as kind of reference points for the other thing that you need to find. So, for example, we already did our sides, they're all color-coded, so I could go through here and say, okay, so I have an angle right here where the green side and the yellow side meet. So the matching angle on the other shape is going to be where those same two sides, the green side and the yellow side, meet. So that would be this angle. So we said one way that we can name angles is by using the vertex point. So angle M. And remember, we also talked about an angle symbol. So it looks like a tiny little angle drawn in front of it. So that is an angle symbol you should use when you're talking about angle names. So angle M matches with angle P. And then we can go through, so where red and green meet, and then red and green meet again. So that's angle J and angle Q. And then we can keep working our way around the shape. So where red and blue meet is angle K, and where red and blue meet on the other shape is angle N. And then we have one last set of angles, and that is right here where yellow and blue meet, so angle L, and then where yellow and blue meet on the other shape is angle O. So those are all of our pairs of corresponding angles. So again, this is a background skill, practicing being able to match things up correctly, because that's going to become important in the next part of the lesson that we are going to work on. So that is what you guys are going to be practicing today. So your notes should at this point be completely filled out. So you should have the top part filled in. You should have all of your corresponding sides and angles listed out. And you should also have your notes about correctly listing sides. So use a bar over the letter name, list the letters in matching order to help you remember to do those things. So if your notes are complete and you have all of your things listed out, then you could go ahead and move on and try the short